We are selling almost everything to live our dream and travel the world as a family of 5. We have 2 more weeks till we board our one-way ticket from the US to our first destination, and I wanted to share what questions we normally get when we tell people this is what we're doing. So the first question that we always get is, why are we doing this? What made us decide to choose this? And we love traveling. Eric just needs it. It's something that we have to do often, and we absolutely love it. As a family, it's just our favorite thing to do. But on top of that, we have experienced a lot of loss in our family. Both Eric and I have lost our brothers very unexpectedly at a very young age. And that loss never goes away. And the thing that we came out of it with is that you never know when you don't have it tomorrow. You don't know when today's the last day. So you should actually enjoy what you have in the moment. And that's something that we have tried to do since experiencing this loss. But we've also had family members who get to retirement age and they had been waiting to do all these things. Oh, I'll wait until I'm retired, was always the saying. When we're retired, we'll do that. And they got to retirement age and he had Parkinson's and they couldn't do any of those things that they had been waiting to do. Experiencing that and seeing that you can't wait until retirement. You can't wait for X day to do this. You have to do it now. Have been some really big pushes for us to actually pursue what we want to try to experience, to live our lives the way that we want to, and not the norm and what people think that you should. And so with that all in the back of our minds, we actually were pursuing, we felt like 2 years ago, we felt like our family needed a change. We just needed to move on from our current location, but we didn't know exactly what that looked like. We started pursuing ideas, and the idea of traveling the world, we joked about it at the time. We were like, oh, that would be so cool. And we actually dove in and started looking at, can we afford this? Can we actually do this? We'd have to fund this with our personal savings. We're not selling a business. And at that moment, we decided that, it would be way too tight for us to be able to do that in the extent of how we'd want to do this travel. We started saving because either we were going to do this or we were going to do something else, and we just didn't know what it was. And so last August 2023, we were looking actually at property in Florida, trying to decide if that was the route that we were going to do. It just didn't feel right. And again, the idea of traveling the world came back up. And so we pursued it again and realized that we had saved enough to make it possible. We took the leap and started actually planning it out. And that was 8 months ago. We wanted to make sure that we could do what we wanted to, go to the places that we wanted. And these places are a little bit more pricey because we love to travel to tropical places and beaches. And we are divers, and so we needed those type of places to make this possible for us to actually, we would probably enjoy it anywhere, but to actually do it the way that we wanted to. And so we started planning out all of our roadmap, and that is exciting. That's another question that we get is, how did we actually decide the route that we're going and if we actually know our itinerary and where we're going? And the answer is yes and no to the itinerary. We do have 9 months booked out, but it's kind of evolving and just kind of seeing where flights are cheaper to go to and also what's happening in the world and if it's safe to go to places. So it's kind of in the limbo on some of them, but we do have a bunch booked out. It also was with the planning of the route is what's the best weather, what's the season that they're in. Is it like their high season? Also, we were trying to plan around storms. So, because we're going tropical, so we're trying to plan around storms. We're also going to Australia, so we're trying to plan around like the stinger season so we don't get jellyfish stings and all those other crazy things. We have planned it in the way that we're headed to French Polynesia first and then heading around the globe back to the US. When we were picking the locations of where we wanted to go, we wrote out a list and we sat down with our kids too. We asked them, okay, what are the places that you want to see in the world? And let's see if we can make it happen. And luckily, a lot of them crossed over about where they wanted to go and what they wanted to see. And that gave us a good point of reference of what destinations we need to hit. Another thing to note is when you are doing this type of travel, it is so different than regular travel. Regular travel, you're going for a week, maybe two, and then you're coming back home. And that is an expensive way to travel. The cheaper way to travel is to stay at least 28 days. We found that to be the golden amount of time. And we have booked most of ours through Airbnb currently. And that's what we found is that 28 nights, you get a huge discount. Some of the places, the discount that we're seeing, it's the same cost as if we were staying there for 2 weeks. So that is a tip for you, is that that's a good way to save money when you are booking longer stays. The next thing that we always get asked is, how are we affording it? And I think I already explained that we have been saving and we are using just a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit of the funds from the sale of our house when we come back, whenever that is, or whatever it looks like after this travel. We're planning a year of travel, but it could extend. We don't know yet. So we are saving a certain amount so that way when we come back, or wherever we end up, we have funds to be able to buy a new home and also get new vehicles, because we are selling basically everything. We have sold our cars. We actually have sold our house. We're actually renting it right now. We have to have enough funds when we come back to be able to restock what we have sold as well. And some people might be like, well, why did you sell everything? It's because we don't know where we're going to end up. It could be not in the US, it could be in the US, but we would have to store it for X amount of time and then get it to the new location. And we just thought it would be easier and better to condense down, simplify our lives, and start fresh with a new perspective and not have to worry about storing all that and paying for the storage. So other things that we had to plan with this was obviously planning of selling everything. And the easiest way, this works so well for us, is we created a Google spreadsheet. So in the Google spreadsheet, we had the title and of the item, a picture of the item, and a description, if it was available now, our price, and then a spot for people to claim it. And then we just had different tabs for different areas of the house. And then we had additional tabs for if people claimed stuff, we would move the items into there so we could organize it and keep track of stuff. And then we shared that with our family and friends. And I must say, this was so convenient because you'll be surprised at what people want to buy and what they'll purchase from you, of your family and friends. And it has allowed us to be able to keep certain things until the very end rather than trying to sell everything off. So it was really nice that family and friends claimed a bunch of stuff, and then everything else that wasn't claimed. And I mean, this was done through months of adding stuff in. It took a while to go through everything. But after people started claiming it and, we would add stuff occasionally, it wasn't like a one-time everything was in. It was like we told them this is continuous for the next few months. And about 2 months till we were going to leave is when we started listing certain things on the classifieds. And we used Facebook Marketplace to do that. And we would just list stuff that we weren't needing anymore to sell it. And we have sold a lot of items off of that as well. And that spreadsheet was honestly the easiest way to do it and to keep track of stuff. So that's my number one tip for being able to sell stuff is create a spreadsheet and then share it with people that you know. Another thing that I want to address is that there's a lot of logistics in it that you probably don't think about. And it's the ones that you have to think about is, okay, in health insurance and what kind of vaccines do we need before we leave? And what do we need an international driver's license? I have a full list of all of these and I will share them on our website. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check out the link below. I will note that something that we have just discovered because we looked at the vaccinations, made sure that we thought we were up to date on all of them. We knew that we needed a couple different ones in particular, like typhoid and malaria pills and the Japanese, I can't remember the last of it. But we knew that we needed those for our trip because we were going to a lot of locations that would have mosquitoes, and that's what's recommended by the CDC in the US. We went to our local health department to get those because you can't get those. Well, you could maybe get some of them, but some of them you cannot get from your regular doctor. You have to go to the health department. And this is where we were not planning on some expenses. So getting there, I thought, okay, each vaccine would be maybe $100 per person. Well, we were so wrong in that. The typhoid for us at the time did cost us $100, and we did have to pay a fee, a traveler's fee, to even be able to get the vaccinations per person, and it was $50 per adult and $25 for a child. The one that shocked us was the Japanese one. I didn't realize that you needed 2 of those shots. You needed a booster. So you have to plan it accordingly where you get it 30 days after. So the booster is 30 days after for kids. Adults, it's sooner, but kids, it's 30. It was close to $400, I want to say, per person, per shot. That visit was way more expensive than we anticipated. And I don't think people talk about that enough is the actual vaccinations that you should get. To keep everything organized, we had to create spreadsheets. There's no other way around it. You need some way to keep this organized because it is a lot of information to keep track of. It was, what do we need to buy? What do we need to do? Here's our itinerary, here's what we're willing to, like, planning out the budget in general. And so I am now looking at my spreadsheet because I want to make sure that I share as much as possible with you as we possibly can. How did we decide the amount of time? We were playing around with the idea of a 6-month, but Eric is quitting his job. So the idea of quitting a job for 6 months just didn't sound like it was worth it. Like, if we're doing this, we need to be all in. So we decided on a 12-month, so a year plus, just depending on kind of how things pan out. And that's why we decided on that. Another thing that we get asked is about our kids' school, because the year that we're traveling, we'll have a 9th grader, a 7th grader, and a 5th grader that's in the grade levels in America. And so how are we doing that? And we are going to be homeschooling. We are actually putting together our own curriculum because some of these places that we're traveling to will have very limited internet, if any at all. And we also don't want to be restricted in the times that we have to be on school, doing school. And we wanted to make it enjoyable. And so we are doing our own type of curriculum. We have put together some of this for our kids. And so we'll have to talk more about that as it kind of goes along to see how it's going. But yes, we are putting together our own curriculum. Something else that we had to consider with this is that we are only taking a backpack and a carry-on. So we couldn't carry tons of books. So we had to digitize a lot of stuff. And that's another thing that we had to consider when we were trying to find curriculum for our kids. So hopefully I'll do another video on that after we've kind of see how it's gone, but we do have it all mapped out on a spreadsheet with what day they have to do what
what project, what lesson plan. If you have tips for us, or if you have questions, please comment below because we'd love to hear them, and we will see you in our next video.